I mean, from the history of the language, the word design, I used to meet with an organisation in the UK called the RSA, it's the Royal Society of Arts, and they run like the oldest design competition in the world. And the first question I asked them is, why do you say arts? And I said, oh, this is like a 90-year-old competition. Way back when, we never used to say design. It was called industrial arts. That's the way the term is. And then I don't know in the history of the language where that was changed with design. So from that conversation, I thought, oh, right. So basically, you do art for self and design is just something that's commercial. It's just way back when a painter doing it for like a religious building as a piece of art versus someone who's just doing like a wedding portrait, and that's just like almost the equivalent of a photographer. But then obviously the mediums become where design has become very digital, like what people's perception. But what's your feeling of like, because I know we've had this conversation, you say design is an art or is a design. What do you think? I've just said about 20 different things there, so pick one and run with it.
I think it is hard for me to say that anything created with intent is not art. That is too big of a statement to make. But what I mean,
we're here to make statements.
like what I mean by that is that I guess I'll just say, like, I think I wrote a whole piece about this on Medium, that art, like design is art. Like it is. And I think people, particularly in our space in tech, I think people like to think that design is like doing something that art can't do or something like that. But I think, I think the perception comes down to the intent of the work. And in design, we think that our work is uniquely solving people's problems or affecting them in some way. Like when I talk with Rob Giampietro, who's a colleague of ours, about this topic, he talked about how design is such a transformative discipline because you're deciding things about how people experience their lives. But I would argue in a similar sense, like art can be anything from documenting the reality that you see to getting people to think about things in a different way to getting people to engage with things much in the same way as design. So I think that spending time delineating between the two and somehow claiming a separate space for design is probably not a very good use of time in public discourse.
But why not? This is a podcast, so
sure. In a podcast, absolutely. But I think people have really strong opinions about this, and I think.
Why do you think that is? I mean, was it because they want to establish that they're a designer and not an artist, or that they're an artist and a designer? I mean, who cares? I mean, who cares? Like, whatever you create, whatever. Like, that's my view. I mean.
Yeah, I feel the same way, but I think that socially there are embedded ideas or received knowledge about what art is and isn't, and how valuable it is to society.
And like NFTs. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's
yeah. And it kind of goes back to earlier in the conversation, again, when we were talking about like people liking to have absolute answers. People view design as a space where absolute answers exist, and art is not a space where absolute answers exist.
Yeah.
But I think the notion of absolute answers is itself an illusion, further breaking down the barrier between the two.